Okay, dropbacks. They're a fun and challenging one. How do we get into them? The first Krama, or the first stage, I'm going to show you a lot of different ways of doing this. The first Krama would be to just quite simply either have blocks on your mat or blocks against the wall. Okay, I'm just going to show you here first and then do it against the wall because the wall's it's easier to see here. So first part is that we just need to start kind of deepening the curve in the upper spine. And so putting our hands on blocks is going to deepen the thoracic opening. Okay. So I'm going to lie down and put my head in between the blocks. The blocks are on the lowest height. The key around this is, especially if you're not against the wall, you want to make sure you either have cork blocks or a very sticky mat so that the blocks don't move, because you don't want that happening while you're back bending. Yeah. You're going to put your palms on the block with your fingertips off the block, okay? This is also a wonderful modification, teacher friends and friends with wrist stuff. It's a wonderful modification if deep flexion in the wrists is hard or not accessible either to yourself or to your students. Blocks are great for this. Feet are on the ground. I lift the hips up off the ground, press the palms into the blocks, and then if you can, just lift all the way up. I'm going to move my blocks out to the sides a little bit. Yeah, you can lift your heels off the ground. This gives the lower back a lot more space, okay? Feet can be wider than hip width apart. I'm into it. Just keep pressing the balls of the feet down, okay? So that's option one, Krama 1, okay? And work on that for a while, because that can be actually quite a bit, especially if you're tight in the chest, if you're tight in the thoracic area, which is this area. Next part, I'm just going to move my aloe over to the side. Okay. So blocks against the wall, and this is called a walk up, and then I'll do a walk down, okay? I might actually also move my plant. Move plants out of the way if possible. Okay. So head goes in between the blocks, hands on blocks. Here I am. Lift yourself up into wheel, so you definitely have to be able to do wheel pose. Okay, from here, slide your palms onto the blocks and press your wrists up against the wall. Walk your feet in and draw your chest towards the wall. If you're going to walk your hands up the wall, I would put the heels down. It just makes it easier. Then move your hips forward, meaning towards your toes. So more weight into the toes, like I was doing when I was standing up. And then take your hands up the wall. You can walk your hands up the wall and then come all the way up to stand. Woo! Enjoy the ride. Feel it out. Same thing in terms of going down. So look how wide my feet are. I'm good with it. It used to be controversial to have your feet wide. We now feel differently about that in the yoga community. The biggest thing you don't want to have happen, either to your students or to yourself, is you don't want your feet in turnout, because when your feet are in turnout, your inner line is not working. And when your inner line's not working, that means the line, they say the fascial line of the core starts in the arches of the feet, goes up through the inner thighs, meets in the pelvic floor, goes all the way up either to the xiphoid process, to bottom of the rib cage, or all the way up to the tongue, depending on who you talk to. So you want to keep that line hugging in so that the core stays engaged, so that the lower back stays supported, and the opening really happens in the thoracic spine. So all 10 toes are reaching forward. I find for myself, my feet naturally want to go into turnout. Okay, so sometimes I actually lift my toes off the ground to be like, don't move, feet. Pressing the balls of the feet down, right? And then bending the knees. Before I go back, I am going to put my toes back on the ground because I need them for balance. And then I'm going to, again, shift the weight forward like we were doing when we were at the front of our mats. Take the hips forward. Lift pubic bone towards belly button. Keep bringing the pelvis forward. Bend your knees. And this is the act of faith. Hands to lower back. Arc the upper spine. Look back. Take your hands to the wall. It's nice when you got a little ledge. Now notice that I've moved my torso towards the wall. So there's more weight in the heels to come down. And then look towards the blocks and bring your hands to the blocks. Draw your chest towards the wall. And then I like to lift my heels up before I come down just to give my lower back space, and then come all the way down. And I'm going to take a couple breaths just to feel that in the body, okay? So walls are great for exploring drop backs just because it gives you essentially, it's a training wheel, right? Because especially in the center of the room, dropping back, it's really scary. And for sure, you need a lot of faith. So working, going up and down the wall is just going to give your body the muscle memory of what it feels like to go up and down, and then to go into it, right? So last little part, if I'm at the front of the mat, feet are nice and wide, I don't have to drop all the way back. So especially those of us who are teachers, or if you're in a class and people are offering drop backs, you don't have to go very far. So again, a couple of options: hands to lower back, right? Lift pubic bone to belly button, lift the chest up, arc the spine, and stay here. This is a back bend. Right? If you want to go further, you slide your hands to your hamstrings. That's the back of your legs underneath your butt. Arc the heart and look back. Notice how much I'm bending my knees to arc my spine. Yeah? Root down through your feet and stand up. That in itself is very, very powerful. You can also do all of that, and we did it. We started with it, right, in camel pose. Pubic bone towards belly, hands to lower back, arc the upper spine, lift the chest, right? You can bring the hands to the heels, curl the heart back, okay? Or, like we were doing in that standing back bend, slide your hands to the backs of your knees, curl your heart back. Yeah? Root down through your knees and stand up. Sit back on the heels. Okay? So a couple things to remember through all of this. In order to do drop backs, you need to be very comfortable in wheel pose to begin with, okay? If you're not, you work on wheel pose from the ground up, and you just quite simply work on that until your body till the muscle memory is there in your body. Now, I'm also going to say that structurally, for some people, wheel pose will never be accessible. And that doesn't mean that you're an inadequate yogi. It just means that the structure, the way that you were brought into this world, it's not for your body, and there'll be other poses. So what does that mean? People with really tight triceps, really tight shoulders, it's going to be really hard to have the arm overhead on the ground and then extend the elbow. If you have very short arms, it might not be accessible, right? Because as you extend upwards, if there isn't a lot of space, then you're not going to lift up, okay? So you explore, and then we also accept our own limitations, right? And then the cool part is one of my favorite quotes by Rolla May is, "Limitations breeds creativity." So we always show up to any pose, and instead of thinking of what we can't do, what can we do, okay? So that is always a sweet reminder when doing any of these quote-unquote advanced poses. It's like, what can I do? And also, is this serving my greater self? Meaning that, am I pushing through towards something with a kind of energy? Right? And if I am, I'm going to tell you right now, that's not really serving, right? Especially with backbends, there needs to be this sweetness, this surrender, this softness, right? To come into it, especially because we're literally opening up our hearts. Yeah, one of the most vulnerable family of poses is backbends, okay? So always we check in with ourselves of like, what is my truth in this moment? Does this serve my truth? And if I explore, what arises out of it, right? And then the last little part is, after coming out, just like letting go of any story or shame or about the pose and just breathe into, what do I feel, right?
If you like that video, you'll probably like these. And if you want more videos, go to my membership site. Either way, let's stay connected.